Very much, Minister for Local Government and Rural Development. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the questions.
My name is Obin Meni from Peace FM. My question is in relation to what the former president, Mr. Mahama, said on, I think, last Saturday. And I'd like the minister to listen, and then she can respond to it.
Whether they receive any money anymore.
You can't hear anything. Okay. Okay, the former president was talking about the common fund. Before your party came into office, it was 7.5% being paid to MMDCs, and then now it's 5%. And he says that on the basis of that, you have challenges, and indeed most of the assemblies do not have money because of that decision. Your reaction to that one? And again, I saw something about the election of MMDCs 2021. Really, is that the case? Is that what we were told?
Thank you. My name is Melvin from Daily Guide. Before I begin, I have a short comment. And Honorable, I would like to suggest that maybe next time when you're doing the presentation, because you mentioned so many projects that we have undertaken, the schools, the market, for instance, but I think a picture would have done much more better than just the text you showed us, because we would have known where exactly those projects. Okay, because the presentation you made, that's what I'm referring to. But then my question has to do with the One Village, One Dam. When are you guys starting it? Thank you.
My name is Margaret Sabuache from the Vanguard newspaper. Honorable, please, I want to know what is the duration for registering for birth certificate? 3 years ago, I went to register for my birth certificate, and 3 months I went, they say it was still not ready. And for about 6 months, it was still not ready. I had to go back for my money, and nothing convinces me to go back and register. I want to know, and again, sometimes you see in town, you see, what I mean is the duration for getting or acquiring a birth certificate, the duration, that's the time for acquiring. And sometimes walking in town, you see posters. If you want to get your birth certificate in 3 days, 2 days, 4 days, call this number. You call and you are charged with some huge sums of money, and it will be done for you within 2 or 3 days as it's being requested. So please, what is happening in the birth certificate?
Right, my name is Eric with Star FM. Honorable, in your speech, you made mention of the fact that out of the 216 districts and MMDCs, just 200 have their MCs and DCs. I want to know whether, you said 200 out of the 216, that's confirmed. So we want to know what happens to the 16. Does it mean they don't have their MCs or DCs? And also with the street naming exercise, I know for a fact that not every street in Accra has been named. I want to know what has accounted for this since the project took off. Thank you.
My name is William Evansinkum, and I'm coming from GH1 Television. Article 240 Clause 2C of the 1992 Constitution spells out, without any ambiguities, the framework within which a new district can be created. I want to know if we create districts because there is pressure from the people, or just to fulfill a political promise. I am asking this because if you go to some of the districts, they can be likened to just orphanage. Even a letter, they have to depend on the DACF to buy a paper for letters. They are not generating enough. They are depending solely on the DACF. And the creation alone has even deepened the poverty in those areas because they have to build new administration block, and I saw it during the presentation. A district like Afija Kwabre, some years back, I mean just less than 3 years or so, was operating from a fuel station. So I want to know what actually motivates. I know when it comes to the creation of district assemblies, definitely you have a role to play. What informed your decision to create more districts in deprived areas? Thank you.
Thanks for your questions and comments. Let me say that in some of the questions, I'll ask some of my directors to respond. Like we have our BEPS and DEPS register. That's a direct activity. You say 3 days, you pay this. You haven't, she's come there a number of times, so get ready to answer that after I've responded. And any other to any director? Was there any other question to any director? Any other question to any director? Okay. So now let's talk about the President Mohammed's statement in Bolga. Even though when he played it, I didn't quite hear him, but I've had opportunity to listen to it because I was called by other people and I had to look for it. It was taped to me. I have listened to it. He was talking about capping of the District Assembly Common Fund and talking about giving guidelines for some of these funds to be used for NACOB and other activities. And therefore, we are denying the districts the opportunity to construct schools and clinics. Am I right? Where is the questioner? Yeah, to paraphrase, and this is what he said. It's true that yes, the common fund has been capped at 75%, at 7.5%. It has been capped at 5%. The common fund was 7.5% and has been capped at 5%. Let me give you some figures. In 2016, let's start with 2016. In 2016, with a 7.5% share of GD of our collective revenue for common fund, the transfers, direct transfers that went to metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies was 461,224,117 Ghana cedis, 86 pesos. 2016. If I can repeat the figure for those who are writing. 461,245,117.86. Comprising the 4 quarters, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. And this was 7.5%. Now let's look at the figures for 2017. 2017, at the end of the 4 quarters, the amount that was transferred directly to MMDAs. Let me go back a bit. For 2016, the total amount under the District Common Fund was 1.53. For 2017, 1.52 billion. The direct amount that went to MMDAs in 2017 was 663,183,029 Ghana cedis. 0.70, that's 70 pesos. So notwithstanding the fact that he claims it has been capped at 5%. And they were totaling with 75%. Indeed, it was MPP government that moved it to 75%, and they continued. 7.5%. It was MPP government that moved to 7.5%. They continued with it. Good. That 7.5%, they gave 461,243,117 to MMDAs, with a capping of 5%. 2017, direct payment to MMDAs was 663,183,029 Ghana cedis, 70 pesos. So what is he talking about? So he should come for the figures, and we'll give him the figures, and he'll look at the figures and see how much money we are actually transferring to the districts. Now he's talking about NABCO. Yes, MPP put in our manifesto, and we indicated clearly that our #1 priority is creating jobs for the people. And as President John Mahama knows, that the center, national government, provides guidelines to MMDAs in the development of their plans. So if we are saying that our priority is to create jobs, therefore find room in your share of the district common fund to create jobs for people. Is there anything wrong with that? And this money is not deducted from the center. The money is transferred to the district assemblies, to metropolitan municipal assemblies. But we are telling them, in your programs for 2018, ensure that monies are provided to ensure job creation for our people. He's saying there is no money for clinics, there's no money for school. I'm also surprised again that he can say that, because as president, he knows that Ministry of Education, Ghana Health Service, they have a huge budget that they provide for basic schools and senior high school infrastructure. This happens all the time. And it happened in his time, it's happening in our time. They provide, there's infrastructure, they provide schools. As I speak now, Ministry of Education is constructing 71 cages and 50 basic schools. And they are renovating a lot of the senior secondary schools. So there's construction going on when it comes to schools, when it comes to clinics. Get Fund is also providing this process. So for him to say that this is not happening is quite, I wouldn't say not true, but it's not, it's strange. Let me just say it's strange. I don't want to say not true. It's strange. As I indicated, this year, we are transferring 204 million under DDF to the districts, 204 million to the districts. And this 204 million, the district decide what they want to use it for. They can be CHIPS compound, they can be schools, they can be clinics. If they decide that that's what, they can even do roads and culverts and boreholes, or whatever they decide they want to do. 204 million. They didn't transfer DDF since 2013. We have come and we have transferred this year 204 million. And these are going to be used for this construction. Journalists, I'm telling you this so that you know that these are the things that go to the district. The district is not solely dependent on District Assembly Common Fund. In fact, we are discouraging the districts from depending solely on District Common Fund. We are encouraging them to work harder on their revenue mobilization. That's why I talked about focusing on property rates. I talked about supporting them with programs for them to enhance their revenue mobilization capacity. So we are doing this to support them. 1 million, one constituency. We pledged, and we are doing it. We've started. We're sending down programs. In my district like this, they've gone to now Eastman Mamprusi district. They've already gone to identify sites for mechanized boreholes in 4 towns, secondary town boreholes, in addition to other programs that Ministry of Sanitation Water is doing. And they are providing other facilities in my district. And I'm sure many MPs will testify to what they are doing in their districts with the 1 million, one constituency program. So a lot of resources is going on. And I talked about the UDG program. We are completing it in June. 46 million was transferred to MMAs. And we are going to continue to transfer to secondary towns to continue with their programs. And the idea is for them to do the procurement themselves. When we say transfer, we don't sit and do contract for them. We have abolished that. We send the monies directly to the district. They go through their procurement programs and they contract their activities and get going. So a lot of things we are mobilizing resources and a lot of funds is going out. One village, one dam. When is it starting? It has started. It's done under the Ministry of Special Development Initiatives. They have already identified consultants, and they have even advertised. I'm surprised you didn't see the address in the papers. They've advertised, and they are going through the procurement process for the one village, one dam to start. So I will say it has started. What I talked about the ministry is leveraging our activities under the LIPWD in GISOP to support them identify sites. So we are a government. We are coordinating and we are collaborating in the implementation of these programs. Now, the street naming, yes, not all the streets have a name. It's work in process. We are now at 40%. Some districts have done more, like Suhum like this, they have done more. Some places have done more. Takoradi, they've done more. But generally, average is 40%. But we want to work towards increasing the street naming to 60% by 2020, 2022. Please, the person who talked about the election of the DC, by the way, the one who talked about the other matter, I'm not a guy, I'm a lady. So what you're asking, say, if you call me minister, please don't call me guy. I'm not a guy, please. That's a joke anyway. Now, I think the last speaker referred to Article 2040. There's nothing in Article 2040 about creation of districts. So Article 242, you are quoting the wrong constitution. The provision for creation of district is specified out in the Local Governance Act. Local Governance Act. And it says, for purposes of local governments, the districts in existence immediately before the commencement of this act shall continue to exist. That's 1-1. 1-2, the president may by executive instrument declare any area within the country to be a district and assign a name to the district. The president shall, in the exercise of this power, paragraph A and 2, direct the Electoral Commission to make appropriate recommendation. That's all. The Constitution or the law does not say, look for where they are economically viable. There's nothing like, there's no condition like economic viability in the creation of the district. But of course, in practice, it is deemed expedient to consider some of these things. So it is not on the, it's not basis of law. So your point was not based on law. It wasn't. If you want the law says he can create district by executive instrument. And it's asking for recommendation of EC because EC is responsible for boundaries allocation, especially when it comes to electoral areas. So EC is responsible for that. So EC will provide recommendation. If we continue further on the Local Governance Act, there are certain things about minimum population and contiguity. For example, if you are carving out a district, I cannot go and take Nima, part of Nima, to be part of Osu, because there's no contiguity. Okay? And they can work together as a unit in terms of economic viability to be able to do one or two things together to develop their area. But it doesn't really require certain things directly that people are talking about. No, it doesn't require that. He can do it by executive instrument. And once the executive instrument is done, the minister takes it to Parliament to get an LI passed on the creation of districts. I invite the Director for Best and Devs to respond to the points about this.
Depending on where you're doing the application from, it's either 5 days or 14 days. If you file an application in the Greater Accra region, in 5 days, your certificate should be ready. If you do it from the region, in 14 days, it should be ready. 14 days because they will have to move to Accra and have the document signed, sealed, and taken back for distribution. But if it is in Accra, it should be less than that. However, with the automation, we are working further to bring the days down. So hopefully, as we test running now, once we are okay, you could get your best set in 2 days. Now, for the information you see posted on Vantage Point saying that you can get your best set, you can get your best set in 3 days or whatever. These people are middlemen. I will beg all of us, the nation, not to deal with them. Thank you.
My name is Afiba from TV Africa. Please, I'm asking the local government governance ministry. They started National Sanitation Day, and this is the perception that it is dead. Do they budge with that idea that the National Sanitation Day is dead because people do not come out like they used to when it was started? How are they? Now, yes, it's under the Sanitation Ministry, but they started it because they wanted the districts to be neat. So how are they going to wipe up the interest again? And please, about the birth and death, yes, you said 5 days, but that is what is happening. So what do we do? Because I applied for my birth cert in January, I've still not gotten it. I go there, she said it's not ready, it's not her fault. It's Abokobi. I went to I applied for it at Dome. She asked me to go to Abokobi. I went there. The director says it's not his fault because only one person signs for the whole Ghana. So he tells me he signs for, he says to sign a day, he gets tired, and that is it. So, yes, that's what he told me. But I told him I want to know why, what is delaying it. And that's the answer he gave me. And I've still not gotten my best set. I don't know what he said, I don't know what is delaying it, and how are you going to prevent all these challenges so we can get our best settled. Thank you.
Yeah, please, I report for NGO TV. My first question is got to do with the same birth and death. I would like to know, I would like to know from you. I think the Honorable Minister made mention of the ICT model which will be starting. I think those are some of the problems, those are some of the solutions to some of these problems that our dear friend is going to. So when is the ICT model taking place, and when is it going to start? So that we know the tentative date that the ICT model is rolling out. My second question is got to do with the one district, one dam policy. Please, can you highlight us about some of the regions? You said, I think nationwide discovery. Can you highlight us about some of the regions or towns that you've discovered some of these potential sites at? Thank you very much.
My name is Abdul Haddad. I work with Maraba FM. Kokomlembe based Maraba FM. Honorable Minister, I'd like to ask you about vehicles that have been parked at the local government institute at Medina. A colleague at a sister station, City FM, they reported on that, I think, somewhere last year, and there was a lot of discussion about it. Those vehicles were acquired, I think, during former President Rawlings' time, and up until now, those vehicles have not been used. So I just want to know the state of those vehicles, whether the ministry has any plans of using them. My second question. There's a law that is regulating rent in this country, but the Rent Act is not enforced. Landlords are abusing us. They are charging us more than they should be, charge us. The laws are there. So I'm asking the minister, why is it that there's a law in place that successive government have failed to enforce? Are you going to enforce it? Because I know that there are discussions springing up about these things. So we need you to do something about it for us.
My name is Benis Bese. I report for the Ghanaian Chronicle. My issue has to do with the naming. I want to find out what goes into the street naming. For instance, in my area, I live at Dansoman. And on my junction, they've written Tinga Tinga Junction. Yes, and it's confusing. What caused for that name to be put there? And today, someone will be standing right under that signpost, and you ask them what's the name of the junction, and you give you a different name. So I want to ask, what goes into naming? And my second issue has to do with the Millennium School that the minister said they have also continued, which is a good thing. But I want to find out the old ones that have been built. I know some of them are in very bad shape. And one of them at Mamprobi, we are told that even the student fell from the building because the rails were bad. So I want to know, as the minister is continuing with the project, how is he also managing with the maintenance? We know we have issue with the maintenance culture. How is it? The ministry okay, thank you.
My name is Amadou Kamil from GNE. I have two things to deal with. Some months ago, I had an interview with engineer Dr. Atuata, who said that according to a 2016 report on performance of MMDAs on revenue generation, an average of 33% of some assemblies, revenue of some assemblies were coming from IGF. And then the worst performing MMDAs contributed less than 3% of their total revenue from IGF in relation to District Assembly Common Fund and other government grants. But in the minister's presentation on revenue mobilization, she said the ministry, in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance and the Ghana Revenue Authority, with support from GIZ, Sector for Decentralization Reforms, is implementing an accelerated internal generated fund program in 38 MMDAs with high potential for mobilizing property rates and business operating permits. And then the program is intended to support the 38 MMDAs to increase their current IGF contribution to total revenue from 20% to 50% in order to improve their service delivery. Now, my question is, why is the focus of this particular collaboration not in the low performing IGF districts, but rather in the high potential mobilization, IGF mobilizing MMDAs? And now the second issue is on the fee fixing for MMDAs. I happen to cover the final validation workshop on the fee fixing consultations, and I want to know now, when was it confirmed and issued? On the fee fixing, I happen to cover the fee fixing guidelines on fee fixing for MMDAs. On the final consultation, I covered it. But now, after that, I didn't hear anything about it anymore. But we have here that it has been developed and issued. So when was it done?
Thank you very much. The fee fixing resolution formulated, all the districts were sensitized on it. When you have sensitized them on it, you then allow them to pass resolution in their various assemblies and implement them. And they are implementing them. And I indicated that the fee fixing resolution informed their planning and budgeting cycle for 2018. They are implementing them. The fact that you covered the consultation doesn't mean we should call your report again that the fee fixing resolution. You covered the consultation, yes, but it is ongoing. We did a consultation. All the districts were covered. We validated them. They put in their inputs. We did the correction. We sent it to them. And now they are implementing it. They always have to take it to the assemblies to pass resolution. And they've done it. And they are implementing it. And I'm satisfied with the implementation that they are doing so far. The last questioner also talked about why we are on 38 and not the poor ones. We want to plug the low-hanging fruits first. Want to ensure that, look, these people are doing well. Let's support them to do well. And this is done in collaboration with Ghana Revenue Authority and Ministry of Finance. And then we'll learn lessons and replicate to the other places. Let's plug the low-hanging fruits first and then move on to the others. And the average is 20, and we think it's low. Want to make sure at least we can move this particular assemblies from 20 to 50 and then continue working with the rest. Rome was not built in a day, but we are going on. Street naming. I think when I finish, I'll let Silvanus come to answer some of the questions. Why some names and not some names? I'll let you come and answer that. And only if you have something to add on the revenue mobilization, you will also add. Water Yeah, you also talk about the school, the Millennium School that we completed. Okay, the waste of water. Yes, we should be citizens and we should be active. And I would like to compliment you for being active and concerned about that. And I think when we talk about citizen participation, when things like that are happening, we should all play a role. We should, the communities should be able to take an active part in that. They should be able to respond. We shouldn't just allow the water to be flowing. But your concerns will be communicated also to the Minister for Sanitation, Water Resources, as well as the Minister for Works and Housing. The issue too about the rent. The law, yes, there's a law on rent, and landlords tend to charge. Sometimes, you said 3 months. They can even charge sometimes 4 years, 5 years. It happens. I know that the Minister for Works and Housing is working on a new law on these matters. And I'm sure the new law will cover some of these areas that you are communicating today. Definitely, I will also pass your concern on to him, but I know he's working on a new law on these matters. The gallopers, a question was asked, why the gallopers? Yes, this is an old standing matter and is still in court. They've gone to, the Africa Automobile has, gone for an injection restraining us from using the vehicle. We have to go, you know, when something is in court, we can't just go and pack the vehicles and start distributing them. They claim that they have not been fully paid. But our records, we think they have been fully paid. But while the injection is on, we have to just wait till the issue is dealt with. There are a number of issues too on the births and deaths registration. Let me just say that we are working on a new bill. The births and deaths registry is a centralized institution. It's not a decentralized institution yet. So we are working on a new bill to ensure that all the activities that they are doing at the Accra level. You may want to have a certificate in Ebri, not even, Ebri is closer to Accra. Let me say Hamle. At the end of it, it has to be signed in Accra. Those are the issues. So we want to work on a new bill to decentralize births and deaths registration activity so that a registry at the district level will have the responsibilities to do all these activities. But the law we have now centralizes births and registry, centralizes the office. So hopefully the new law will support that. So I mean, I understand your frustrations. I sympathize with you. Let's expect the new law. The new law will help solve some of these problems and definitely not only set up the offices, but also build the capacities of the offices to deal with them. The size of the dams, yes, most of these dams have been identified in the 3 northern regions and part of, mainly the 3 northern regions. And if you want the specific sites, I have the whole list in the office. I have the whole list, I can give it to you. But Austin, do you remember some of the names? My district is one of the places where they have identified sites. Savannah zone, the 3 northern regions. But if you want the specific towns or villages, we can give you the details. I have it. And
my name is Sylvanus Ajolu. I'm Director, as the Minister said, of Urban Development. Now, the street naming implementation is guided by 3 important documents. We have the national policy, we have the national guideline, and the step-by-step document on how to implement the street naming. Now, when you look at the guideline, it stipulates how the naming should be done. And most importantly, it gives this responsibility to the community, the chiefs and people, to provide the names. And so the assembly committee or the street naming committee at assembly only validates names provided by the chief and people. So the names are actually provided by the community. I think the Tinga Tinga is rather a nice name. I don't know. It's not like it. But I should find out from the chiefs why the name is Tinga Tinga.
Yes, I want to allay the fears of the gentleman from GLA.
Actually, you covered the national validation that we held at Movenpick for the fee fixing guidelines. We had the validations at the northern sector, the middle, and the southern. So we were now climaxing it at the national level, where all the private sector were also invited. So after that, all the comments we had from the telcos and the advertisers were also incorporated. We engaged them after that. That was incorporated. We finalized the document, and our Honorable Minister, Haji Halima Mahama, signed the fee fixing guidelines. After that, then in October 2017, we distributed to the MMDAs for compliance in their fee fixing resolutions. So that was completed, the process was completed, and the document duly signed and is being used. For the revenue mobilization, for the 38 MMDAs, we want a test case. We want MMDAs to know that they can improve on their local revenues. And that is what attention should be given to be able to identify what they can do, the economic potentials they have, and then identify sources for revenue generation, and then use it to improve on their revenues and help with the service delivery. Because now the concentration on the DACF and the central transfers, we want to minimize that. So that's the focus. So we are targeting these 38 MMDAs. We need to take those with the low-hanging fruits. Those who have digitized their properties, because we are talking about property that have valued their properties and need to be revalued again and all that. So those are there. So we have that satellite images of the properties. So when you look at it, you see all the properties, the businesses within a district. So you can easily identify them all and be able to generate your bills. And to do that easily, you need to do the automation. That's why we are also promoting the IGF software, internally generated fund software. So when we look at these low-hanging fruits, in these 38 MMDAs, we make sure we use their valued properties, we make sure we use the digitized properties, and then using the IGF software, you can easily manage your revenues and see how you can improve on it. But in that test case, we are making them understand that having that IGF software is not the answer to the problem. That will not give you the money, but you have to also invest, because it needs, the collection is the important thing. How are we investing in the collection of the rates and the fees and all that? So in doing that in the 38, when we come out boldly to see what we can achieve through that, then we can boldly make all MMDAs know that if they target these areas in looking up for improving their local revenues, it will work, and then they will all get towards that. So that's why we are using the 38, which are the low-hanging fruit, which will yield the result, and then with that we can replicate for everybody to know that that can be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Minister. I quoted Article 240, Clause 2C of the Constitution, Chapter 20. And yes, maybe you did not understand. I crave your indulgence. What I meant was that I have worked in several communities, especially in the northern parts of Ghana. And that particular article, that particular clause talks about economic viability. Exactly. I think that is the best summary you can give to that particular clause. If you go to some of the districts, they don't even have a market, let alone generate adequate revenue, just in case the DACF is not has not been released. And we all know that they come in tranches. So my question is, what is the essence of creating districts in such communities that cannot cater for its own self? Because I also mentioned orphanage, because they rely on benevolence to run their operations. So if these districts, as I'm talking to you now, still don't have mechanized boreholes, don't have certain basic amenities for its people, but we will continue to give them that particular status and look forward to building office complex and what have you. Meanwhile, the little thing that they need, we are not able to provide for them. Then what is the essence? Thank you so much.
What I tried to say was the issues that you are raising is not in 242. I'm trying to say that in 242 does not talk about 2402C. It says there shall be established for each local government unit a sound financial base with adequate and reliable sources of revenue. They shall be established for each local government unit. When they say they shall be established, it's not saying that that local government unit must be economically viable. There are two different things. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. There's no requirement for that economic viability in this particular act. There are other categories in the act, but not in the Constitution. That talks about population, contiguity, and economic viability. That's the act. But I'm saying that the Constitution does not talk about economic viability. But it is saying that when you established a district, you should make it sound financially. You should provide those infrastructure. And making it sound financially, the Constitution goes further to provide for the 5%. That's the District Assembly Common Fund. So you cannot just establish it and not support them. When you establish it, at least give them some money to start off. So in addition to the District Assembly Common Fund, the salaries of the staff are taken care of by central government, Minister of Finance. All the salaries of the staff are taken care of. The infrastructure, the offices are constructed from central government financing, sometimes from the common fund, but sometimes Minister of Finance can just make some direct allocation for the construction of infrastructure. Most of the infrastructure, Minister of Roads, it provides the roads. And that's why there's this policy that every district capital must have some bare minimum activities, like a hospital, or at least a good health post. It must have some roads, the drainage system, it must have a water system. So the center still provides a lot of resources to make any district viable. Okay. So I'm just trying to say that when we are constructing or creating a district, the economic viability is not, if it is economic viable, then it's good, it's an additional point. But economic viability is not the sole reason. Indeed, 2402E states, to ensure the accountability of local government authorities, people in particular local government areas shall, as far as practicable, be afforded the opportunity to participate effectively in their government. How else can you afford them opportunity to participate effectively in their government? The best way is to provide them, for them to have their own local district assembly or their own local zonal council to sit and participate in deliberations. Sanitation Day. Some districts are still organizing sanitation day in collaboration with the Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources. There's Minister of Sanitation, some districts still do it in collaboration with Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources. Where the Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources works with us in developing, they've developed a new policy document and some new set of objectives and activities that they are implementing with the district. We collaborate with them in these initiatives. Thank you. So thank you very much. I appreciate your attention.
All right. Thank you very much, Minister for Local Government and Rural Development. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the media, for coming.
Oh,